Let's create an SQL Server Database on Azure and connect to it. The first step is to create or sign in to an account on the Azure Portal. To do this, visit portal.azure.com. You'll see this sign in screen. If you have an account, sign in here. If not, click on this Create One link here. I have an existing Outlook account, so I'll sign in with that. After signing in, you'll see the Azure Portal page. There are a lot of features and products in the Azure Portal. The easiest way to find the SQL database is to search for it. So go to the search bar at the top here and enter SQL. In the results that appear, click on SQL Database. You may see the SQL Databases page. If you see a page like this, called Welcome to Azure, it means you'll first need to sign up to Azure. I'll need to do that. Click on the blue Start button under Start with Azure Free Trial and you'll see this page. Then on this Azure page, click on the green Start Free button here. Follow the steps here, which include entering your contact details and providing a payment method. The page has a disclaimer saying you won't be charged unless you move to pay-as-you-go pricing, so just be aware of this. Once you have completed this process, you'll be taken back to the Azure Portal page that you saw earlier. Now let's search for SQL again in the search bar. Click on the SQL database result that appears and you'll see the SQL databases page. On the top of the page here, click on Create. Now we need to fill in a few fields to create the database. For the subscription, this should default to your subscription for your account, so you shouldn't need to change this. For the resource group, we need to create one, so click on Create New. For this example, we can just enter a name of my resource group and click OK. Next, we enter a database name, which I'll call Azure Sample DB. We also need to specify a server. Assuming we are in a new account, we don't have any yet, so click on Create New. A new page is shown. Enter a server name to use. The name needs to be unique across all Azure servers, and the page will tell you if it is unique or not. I'll enter a server name of Database Star Azure, which is unique and is accepted. The location is already set and it should be okay for us, but you can change it if you like. For the authentication method, select Use SQL Authentication. This is easier to use as you can just enter a username and password to connect. Enter a username to use to connect to the database, and enter a password for this user, ensuring it meets the requirements. Then click OK. The server is now created. For the option Want to use SQL Elastic Pool, select No. This means that you can share resources among all of your databases on the same server. For the workload environment, you can set this to either development or production. I'll leave this as development for this example. It will also reduce the cost of the server. You can leave the backup settings as they are, then click Next. You'll then see the Networking tab. For the network connectivity area, select Public Endpoint. This will let you access or connect to the database from your own computer, which we'll see later in this video. In the Firewall section, there are a couple of options. First, the Allow Azure Services and Resources to access this server, choose Yes. Then, for Add Current Client IP Address, choose Yes. This will allow you to connect to the database from your current computer. That's all we need on this page, so click Next to go to the Security page. On the Security tab, we can leave everything as the default and click Next. We now see the Additional Settings tab. We can choose to load the sample database here if we want to, but for this example we won't. So we can just click Next. On the Tags tab, we don't need to change anything here, so click Next. We see the Review and Create tab. You can review what you have entered. You may also see an estimated cost here of the server. I don't see it in this example, as there was a message on an earlier screen about an issue calculating the cost, but you might see it if you follow along. Once you're ready, click Create at the bottom. The server and database will then begin to be created. It will take a few minutes to create. You can click this link here on the pop-up on the top right of the window to be taken to a page and see the status of the job. After a few minutes, it will be completed and look like this. Now let's connect to this database from SQL Server Management Studio. To do this, we need to know the connection details for the server. We can find these in Azure Portal. You can search for SQL databases like we did earlier in the video to find the new database at any time. Or we can click on the Go to Resource button here. We can see an overview page which has the details for our connection. Now let's open SSMS. In the server name, we put the value from the overview page on Azure, which for me was database*azure.database.windows.net. You can click on the copy button here to copy it and paste it into SSMS. Enter the username you provided during the database setup process, which for me was Azure user. Then enter the password you specified during that process. Click Remember Password so you don't need to enter it each time. Then click Connect. You should now be connected to your Azure SQL Server Database. We can see a new entry on the left here, and the title of the SSMS window will change. Let's run a simple query. We'll show the current date. Open a new query and then run this simple select query. We can see the current date and time here, so we're able to connect to the Azure database server from SSMS. If you want to improve your SQL and spend less time remembering the syntax of different commands, you'll love the SQL cheat sheets I have created. Check out the link in the description. Also, you may want to go and delete this database when you no longer need to use it, just to be sure that you won't get charged for anything. Now that you're in SSMS, there are a range of things you can do in your database with this tool. Watch this video next to get an overview of how to use SQL Server Management Studio. Thanks for watching.